Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and yes, we're back out on the Porsche 924. Finally! The car's been tucked away for the winter months, but is ready to make its entrance for this year into the spring season. But before it does, there are a couple of jobs that I've just got to get ticked off. Firstly, a set of front speakers. Now these are slimline speakers because you don't have too much to play with within the front doors themselves, because the window mechanism gives you very small amounts of room to play with, so you must get slimline speakers. But when we get out to the car, I'll show you why and how these are the ones that you need, rather than maybe some that you find out there saying that they will fit. A lot don't. So I'll talk you through what I'm going to go through with these. And as a snapshot, these are the old ones that I've quickly removed just so you can see what I'm about to go through. And as you can see, yeah, some sort of DIY job disasters happened previously where they've cut the old plastic speaker cover, which is a shame because these are pretty hard to come by nowadays. And that gives you a quick snapshot of the width that you've got to play with. These are a lot deeper than they should be, and that's why I think they've cut through the actual speaker itself. But anyway, we'll get out to the car, I'll show you the steps that we're going to go through and why you need slimlines. Welcome back to the interior of my Porsche 924, everybody. And a few episodes ago, you would have seen me complete the fitting of this new stereo system, which I'm pleased to report is all good and working as it should be. However, as you can see, the front speakers have seen better days, and cars of this age have generally gone through some sort of craziness with the stereo system, whether it's been upgrades or trying to fit 2000 speakers, all of that good crazy stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s. These are no different. They bizarrely seem to have had the original speakers removed and then somehow fitted tweeters by cutting out the actual, what looks like the casing they've cut up through, and then added 4 additional bolts through, or screws through, the actual plastic. The original ones still are sat there, but they've gone right through, so it looks like, yeah, they're not really holding the way they are intended to. So what we have here is a bit of a challenge to do a couple of things. So firstly, you have to find speakers that fit with the width of the door, and what I mean by that is that these doors, just like many of the doors in the 80s, were very slim. So you have to find speakers that are very slim, that fit behind the actual cover once the cover's on, so you don't actually see the speaker. And there are some companies out there that do it. There's quite a few in the US actually that have got similar speakers that would fit straight in, but I did manage to find these on, I think it was eBay actually I found these, but the main thing is they're slimline, and there's a very fine amount of space that you've got between the door frame and where the window comes down into the actual inside of the door and where the speaker sits. So you've got to make sure that your speakers are slim enough to sit in situ without any interference with the window mechanism. So these nicely packaged, as you can see, got the old traditional grills. We won't be using these because the speakers themselves, which are those there, will sit behind the new covers. And yeah, I'm just sourcing a couple of new covers now. Again, like many of the old cars, parts are very difficult when it comes to interior fittings now. That being said, you know, that type of part there is prime for 3D printing. So not that I've got a 3D printer, but as more of the sort of craze around 3D printing becomes mainstream, I think these are the sort of things that you could ultimately give to someone that has a business like that, and just say, could you print me up a couple of these parts with all the dimensions and so on, and then hey presto, you have hopefully a couple of new speaker covers. That being said, there are a few out there that I've got my eye on, which hopefully I'll get in the next week or so. Till then, what we're going to do today is we're going to get rid of all of this nightmare, get rid of all these screws, and we're going to fit these speakers, and then set the ignition and just make sure that it doesn't interfere with all of the window winder mechanisms and all that good stuff. So let's get on and start removing all of this. Right, one speaker removed, and as you can see, I mean, look at this. I mean, it's got to be more work to have constructed all of this with these clips here that would hold the screws and the speaker to the actual casing, and then, I don't know, tin foil. It's like crazy, when all you had to do was literally buy a new set of speakers and a cover. Seems a lot of work to retrofit this, and believe me, they're not good sound. If at all, I think they're on their last legs. I don't think they're actually putting out much noise at all. So yeah, you can see it's a shame, really. Been butchered a lot, and you can see just there, that's the remains of the foam. The foam actually should sit within the whole oval shape there, and around the edges as well, if you buy a brand new cover with the foam inside, just to hold the vibrations and so on, as they do. Inside the door, that's what you're up against. So as you can see, this is the channel for the window to come down through, the mechanism there. So some of the felt, which is just present, we'll probably just have to glue that in a little bit, and then the connections for the speaker to the stereo. So all is well in there. Doesn't look to be too bad. Always looking for a little bit of crazy rust, but everything is okay. So what we'll do now is I'm just going to dab a little glue on that, just to make sure that that sits back the way it should, and then we'll start putting these new speakers in. Okay, so before we get fitting the new speakers, I just wanted to give a like-for-like comparison, just so if you are thinking about doing this job or upgrading your speakers in the front of the car, then you've got a just a guide on what I've gone through, but equally what you might look for in terms of a replacement. So if we put these side by side, you hopefully will get a view that, bearing in mind this speaker cover on the left will sit outside of the door frame, so it's just the inner part. In fact, let me remove that, because then it makes it a bit easier for a like for like. And if that lines up nicely with the camera, you should be able to see the depth difference between what I did have installed and what I'm about to install. So significant difference, and that is the sort of shape and size with the correct fittings as a part of the bracket on the speaker that you need to find. So it just basically fits straight into situ where everything from factory was already aligned. With this particular speaker cover, I can pop the cover out as so, and the idea is that when you fit that, you can just pop the screw straight through, which bolts or screws into the frame of the door, and jobs are good. And that being said, what I will be doing is removing that, and obviously the speaker cover, and then having a brand new one of these, which will, well, I say slot, this one's like been glued. So I'll put a new one over the top. I think all in all that should be a pretty straightforward retrofit, and everything should look quite good. So let's get fitting the speaker. So we have the new speaker fitted, and as you can see, it's locked in nice and tightly against the framing of the door. Obviously this all shows because the cover for this particular speaker sits a lot higher off the door, so you know it just has the edges showing, but all in all it's nothing nothing too painful to look at. And the main thing is that you actually have decent sound coming out of the front speakers. So what I'll do is I'll get the other side done now, and start looking for the covers, so I can take this cover and this off, and then flush fit the speaker into the door, and hopefully get it covered. I know it's going to be tight because the tweeter that sits in the middle is slightly raised. That's one thing I have noticed on these speakers. So again, it is so much of trial and error to find these retrofit speakers. I've not come across any of the original speakers that were standard with the car, certainly for sale anywhere. But if anyone does know, give me a shout, because you never know, that might work even more securely than these. But yeah, the main thing is I'm going to just run with these for a while, and just look for the covers, and then hopefully we can get something a bit more flush fitting like those there, but without the crazy cutout in the middle with the speaker showing. So yeah, all in all, that's gone together well. So we've got the passenger side speaker now completed and fitted, and you would have seen me fighting with this bit of foam, which wasn't present on the driver's side, but is there on the passenger side now. That usually fits nicely over the speaker in line with the cover itself to create a little bit more, I guess, padding and less vibrations in the door as the speakers are in use. That being said, it didn't really make sense for this one because it sort of stuck out over the oval edges. So it looks okay for the moment, and until we can source the covers, as I said before, we'll make do with that. Now let's just turn the ignition on. There we go, we've got the stereo on, try and find a channel. And all is working. So the last thing to do is just test the window to make sure it doesn't interfere. And it doesn't interfere. I need to probably do this when the engine's running. But yeah, so no snagging on the window as it goes up and down in the door frame and the runners. So all in all, a job that's pretty easy to do. 2 new speakers in the front, and yeah, I mean, they're not perfect in the look and feel right now, but it means that I actually have a stereo that works with the new system, and BT is the Bluetooth that's enabled on this. So if you haven't seen my previous video on this one, this is just more of a retrofit stereo, but it's got some of the mod cons inside that allows you to connect your phone and use apps through USB here and so on, so that's all good. So yeah, that's the stereo system now operational front and back, with some good tunes, as they say. Next I need to start to look at the seat belts, and I've got brand new ones to go, and as you can see I have I think one 944 seat belt and one 924 seat belt, so I'm not sure what happened over the years, but that's for another video. Okay, so we've got those new speakers fitted and currently in the format that they were supplied, with their own covers and own, I guess, shell casing that completes the unit. Now, they're fine for the moment on the door. You saw some of the steps that I went through just to get those in situ. One of the things that was very evident is just on this part here, this tweeter does sit just higher than the, I guess, the speaker unit itself, so it's not completely flush, which is again one of those common pieces that not necessarily everyone calls out when they're selling these types of speakers, because they just assume they're going to be mounted with the grille over the top. That's not the case in this particular fitment. Now, what I can do and what I am going to do is these parts here, which on the old speaker fits straight through these 4 holes when you screw it in, I can actually mount them behind the brackets that are built into the door. Because I've got enough room with the depth, I could sit them behind the brackets, the 4 areas that that they screw into, and have slight offset rubber grommets, or like shims in that case, where I can offset the depth a little bit more towards the window, and that will take up the space of the tweeter, which is currently sitting just outside, not flush. So when I get the new speaker covers, these, and just screw them onto the door, everything should fit in situ perfectly, so you would not know the difference, and the window will work perfectly, and so on. So yeah, I hope that guide has been useful, just so if you are thinking about changing your speakers, or your speakers have failed and you're looking at maybe upgrading those speakers at the front to get a bit more sound into the car, and you are looking around for those types of things, there's just some of the steps that you might have to look at in terms of widths, tweeters, and just I guess the setup, the measurements of where the 4 holes sit within the door frame itself. So hope that's been useful. I will continue to look for those covers. If anyone out there's got a pair that they're selling in the lovely dark brown, then please, yeah, give us a shout and drop a comment into the video description below. And anyway, more videos to come on the car. We've got a few more jobs to get through, so thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and more videos on the 924 coming along very soon.